But for the time being, let's start with green. Aftermath analyst. So, I'm wondering what green's thing is, because red seem to be like sacrificing clues, blue seem to be detectives, white seemed to be 2 power or less, and I guess detectives as well, and black was all my cards are stupidly busted. Fuck you. No, black was a bunch of sacrifice stuff as well, I guess, and suspect was sort of spread across. There's a whole bunch. I mean, like I said, once we get to multicolored, I'm sure I'll see the colored combos there. But right, so green tap. So green is 2. Green has majority of the collect evidence stuff. No, I've only just started, so I haven't seen yet. We'll have a look when we get further into green. But it does. This does make you mill 3 cards, sacrifice and return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Okay. I don't know how good this is in limited, because I don't know how much you care about getting lands back from your graveyard to the battlefield in limited. But I mean, it's a 2 mana 1/3 that you can just sacrifice later to get a bunch of extra lands if you've milled a bunch. If there's a bunch of like self mill and evidence collecting in green, I mean, it's not like you could use the lands to pay for evidence, right? Because they don't have a CMC, so you could just use this to get it back. I don't think this is a bad card. I think this is just a bit of an eh. Airtight Alibi. Okay. 2 mana, flash enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, untap enchanted creature. It gains hexproof. And if it's suspected, it's no longer suspected. Okay. I mean, just on the back of untap and it gains hexproof, this is actually not bad. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and can't become suspected. Again, I've never been a big fan of enchantments, because if you put an enchantment on a creature, your opponent can just 2-for-1 you. But this is like protection. This is a protection enchantment because it gives hexproof. Removes suspected if your opponent's been giving your stuff suspected so they can swing through. And gives you a bigger blocker that can't become suspected, so your opponent has to try and figure out a new way to get through. So this is probably... in limited, I'd say... Now, I'm going to stick with I don't think enchantments are great. This is the better of the enchantments because it gives hexproof and untaps whatever you enchant it to. But I always fear with an enchantment I'm going to play it and my opponent's just going to blow the creature up and I'm going to be a sad boy. So, eh. Analyze the pollen. 1 mana for a sorcery. There's the evidence collecting, so maybe that is green's thing. Collect evidence 8. Search your library for a basic land card. Okay. If evidence was collected, instead search your library for a creature or land card. Reveal the card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. I think in limited this kind of sucks, right? You don't care about you don't care about searching up a basic land for 1 mana, and I mean, unless the green card is an absolute bomb that your entire deck is built around, I don't think you care that much. I mean, this is, to be fair, this is only pay 1 for the creature, to search for the creature. You do have to collect evidence 8 from your graveyard, but if you're milling your own cards or just playing spells or creatures are dying, that's not that unlikely to happen. But I just think you prefer to have the extra creature, right? I don't... Like, do you really want to draw this? Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's worth the rare. I was excited because it was rare and had... Like, also, collect evidence 8. You have to exile CMC 8 or greater from your graveyard? Like, really? For search for a creature and put it into your hand. Yeah, I'm not too excited about that one. Archdruid's Charm. Okay, triple green. Choose one. Search your library for a creature or land card. Reveal it. Okay. I was going to say, if it just says put it onto the battlefield, that's gross. This is so much better than the other card. No, put it onto the battlefield, tapped if it's a land, otherwise put it into your hand and shuffle. Sure. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control that deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Okay, fight effect. Or, not fight, deal damage to, removal is fine. Exile target artifact or enchantment. I think this is good. Just the second part. You're probably, if you're playing green and limited, you're probably using this as the put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and deal damage to target creature you don't control, because green doesn't have great removal. I don't think you care too much about exile target artifact or enchantment, but maybe it saves you in one game. And the top one, search your library for a creature or land card. I mean, if you've got nothing better to do, it's instant speed, so you do it at the end of your opponent's turn. You just search for a creature that you want to play. This is so much better than this. Can I go back? Yeah. This is way worse than the Archdruid's Charm. Archdruid's Charm's way better. Instant speed, do any of these things is good. Like I said, the second one is what you probably want it for. Like, if you see this card, you pick it for the second effect because it's removal in green and good removal like that as well. But the other two effects aren't horrible, especially at instant speed. So yeah, this card's fine and limited. Audience with Trostani. Oh, Trostani. 3 mana, create a 0/1 green plant creature token, and then draw cards equal to the number of differently named creature tokens you control. So 1. By itself, this is a draw 1. Have we seen any tokens? No. So this is pay 3 to draw 1. And it's not differently named creatures, it's differently named creature tokens. So specific... I mean, Trostani was the token creature in the old set. Maybe Trostani does something with creature tokens? Maybe there's a whole bunch of creature tokens in green? But as is, just the card by itself, this is crap. Right? Uncommon you get later. Bookmark this one. Okay, I'll remember this one. But, I mean, what have we seen so far for tokens? We've seen the 2/2 blue-white whatever. Detective token. There's goblin tokens, because Krenko exists. There's obviously goblin tokens. What else? Did black have any tokens? Not that I remember. White and blue had those same tokens. Red had goblins. Yeah, so we'll have to see. But by itself, clue is the big one. Oh yes, clue tokens would count. No, creature tokens. No, it wouldn't. Clue tokens don't count. Yeah, draw cards equal to the number of differently named creature tokens you control. Clues aren't creature tokens. Yeah. So no, this doesn't work with clues. So that's what's throwing me off. Like, until I see a bunch of different creatures, like, because it can't just be make a bunch of the same creature. It has to be a bunch of different creature tokens for this card to get me excited. I mean, green draw has never been particularly good. That's the one thing green doesn't really do very well, is draw cards. Usually it's like, if you have a big creature, you draw equal to its power, and then when you cast that spell, your opponent just blows up the big creature, and you get real sad. But this just feels weird, because I haven't seen that many creature tokens. Okay, Axebane Ferox. 4 mana, 4/4, Death Touch, Haste. Love it. This is good. This is what we want. Just green dudes being green dudes. 4 mana, 4/4, Death Touch, Haste. You just play this and start smacking. I like this card. And it's got Ward, Collect Evidence 4. So if your opponent targets it, they have to exile stuff from their graveyard. Yeah, I like this card. This is simple. Yeah. This is a simple, good card. This is a great card. I wouldn't say it's like the bombiest card in the set. Like I said, we had a look at some black cards and like Massacre Curl and that Vein drinker vampire thing, the two black mythic rares are and the red dragon, absolutely insane. But this is a damn good card. If you see this card, you're like, fantastic, I'm playing green, because this card is great. And it is a pain to get rid of with the collect evidence. At least early. I think late game, it probably doesn't really matter that much, because in the later game, they'll just collect evidence 4, they don't really care. But in the early game, you play this on turn 4, your opponent doesn't have it doesn't have 4 evidence in their graveyard, probably not. So you just start chunking. So you just start swinging at them. This thing's good on the attack. It's got haste. It's good on the block because it's got death touch. This card is very good. Bite Down on Crime. Okay. 4 mana. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may collect evidence 6. The spell costs 2 less to cast if evidence was collected. So it costs 2. Target creature you control gets +2/+0. Deals damage equal to... This is good. We like this card. It's removal. Green removal. For 2 mana, this essentially allows anything you have to probably just kill anything your opponent has. And it has extra power on the swing as well. I like this card. Even for 4, this isn't bad. Like, what did we... Last set had Huatley's Final Strike. Although this is sorcery speed, actually. So maybe this isn't that great. Because Huatley's Final Strike was instant. I think because this is sorcery speed, it's not as good as I was hoping. But, I mean, it's still fine. Case of the Locked Hothouse. Okay. 4 mana, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Okay, liking this. To solve, you control 7 or more lands. You'll eventually get there. Solved, you may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play lands and cast creature and enchantment spells from the top of your library. This... yeah. This is probably really good. Well, is it good in limited? The top part, how much do you care? Not really. The second part, it just sits there and waits for you to get 7 lands. But... when you get to 7 lands, and in limited you'll probably get to 7 lands, because limited tends to be slower than standard, you can just play pretty much everything from the top of your deck. Because you still get, even once you've sold this card, you still get the... yeah, the 4 mana is awkward, but you still get the top effect even when it's solved, right? So even if it's solved, you can play 2 lands each turn. So if you look at the top card of your library, and it's a land, you play that land. If it's still a land, play that land. And if it's still a land after that, you're probably me playing standard or limited, and you just get very upset. I think that's just me who just goes, land, 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 land. Man, it'd be nice to play some Magic at some point. But the solved effect is nice. It essentially guarantees... It guarantees you can essentially play a card every turn. Now, how good is that in limited? Pretty good. Because the only thing you can't cast is artifact spells, right? And planeswalkers. Because you just play lands off the top, creature spells, and instants and sorceries, I suppose, but you'll be fine. So this is probably, I'm not, super excited. I'm not over the moon about this card. I don't think it's game breaking or anything, but I think it's decent. I think it's decent in limited. Because I think it just means once you've solved it, you're playing at least a creature a turn, probably, or an enchantment. Depending on if you get stuck on like an instant or sorcery. I don't know if turn 4 you can do nothing and play this. I don't know if the set's slow enough for that. I suppose it will depend what you're up against from your opponent, but yeah. Case of the Trampled Garden. 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 creatures you control. Like that. Creatures you control have total power 8 or greater. I mean, you'll probably get that in green. Solved. Whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. It gains trample until end of turn. This case I like. I like this one. It does something when it enters the battlefield. It has a solve case that you're eventually trying to do anyway because you're green, so you're trying to punch your opponent to death in limited. And the solved effect is powerful. It's not game-breakingly powerful, but a +1/+1 counter every turn and trample on an attacking creature is really good. I like this case. I think this case is better than the previous one in limited specifically. Maybe the other one's better in standard because you can just do stupid things with it, especially in multicolored. But I think this is way better for limited. Also, sorry, Zatochi, hey, nice to meet you, by the way. Sorry, I never said thanks for coming in and chatting, and it's nice to meet you. Anyway, yes. So, this is a better case. I like this case. Much better than the locked hothouse. Chalk Outline. 4 mana. Whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token, then investigate. So this only happens once, sort of every effect, because it's when one or more. So returning 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand doesn't make you do this twice. It just does it once for the return effect. So, again, this is another... Do I want to pay 4 mana for an enchantment that does nothing by itself? Not really. Creating another token could be nice. And then investigating creates you a clue token as well, but... That's 4 mana do nothing. I don't know if I like 4 mana do nothing, even in limited. Even the hothouse did more than this when it on 4 mana by itself. I don't think I like this card. I think 4 mana don't do anything and is just too expensive. Culvert Ambusher. 5 mana for a 4/5. Okay, fine. When it enters the battlefield or is turned face up, target creature blocks this turn if able. Okay, good way to kill something your opponent has that you want to get rid of. Force blocking. And you can play it for essentially... I mean, I'm going to say it's technically 8 because you have to pay 3 to put it face down and then you have to pay 5 to flip it face up. I mean, I'd probably just play this for 5 because it has enter the battlefield effect. Like, target creature blocks this turn if able. You're not going to do that in your opponent's turn. This is something that you want to trigger in your own turn. So why not just play it on your own turn and have the enter the battlefield effect? Not a bad card. I mean, from what we've seen in this set, a 4/5 is reasonably big. I'd probably play a couple of these. I'd be fine picking these up in green. Fanatical Strength. 2 mana, +3/+3 gains trample. Sure, it's a pump spell. It's fine. Flourishing Bloomkin. 2 mana for a 0/0. Gets +1/+1 for each forest you control. That could be quite big, but it doesn't have any protection. You can flip it... Right. When Flourishing Bloomkin is turned face up, search your library for up to 2 forest cards and reveal them. Put one of them onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand, then shuffle. But that does cost 5. I mean, on turn 2, if you've just got 2 forests, this is a 2 mana 2/2. That gets bigger every time you play a forest. Is that good? I mean, it could be real big. Doesn't have trample, though. Doesn't have any form of protection. Like, it's probably just a reasonably statted dude. I don't hate that. I mean, you could play it face down for 3 and then flip it face up for 5. And then you search your library for 2 forest cards. One goes into the battlefield, which makes it instantly bigger. The other goes into your hand, so you can make it bigger next turn. Again, I think this card's this card's probably good. Like, in Limited, it's just going to be a pile of stats, depending on the number of forests you're running. And that's probably fine. You're probably running, in most decks, you're running, what, 17 lands? So you're probably running 7 or 8 forests, if it's 2 color. So, no, 8 or 9. So this can get as big as an 8/8 or a 9/9 if you have all your lands. Yeah, I don't think you're disguise. I don't think you're playing this for its disguise cost. I think you're just playing it as a 2-drop that's, you know, gets bigger slowly. Yeah, I think this is fine. Like, it's not game changing, but I think it's just good to have. Get a leg up. 1 mana, until end of turn, target creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control and gains reach. I mean, sure. Instant speed, good way to interact with flyers. This is fine. I mean, pump spells are always kind of like, eh. They're either really good or they're really nothing, so. Glint Weaver. Okay. 7 mana for a 3/3. That's a bit pricey. A 3/3 with reach. When Glint Weaver enters the battlefield, distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures. Then you gain life equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. So it's technically a 7 mana 6/6 with reach because you can just target yourself and gain 6 life. Okay. Yeah, I'm alright with that. It was looking a bit expensive. But if you just play this as a 6/6 with reach, gain 6, I don't think you're upset about it. I don't think, again, it's not incredible, but I don't think you're too sad about it either. Plus, you can always put the +1/+1 counters on another creature if you don't need to have a giant 6/6 reach, and that other creature can be the one holding the counters, and you get toughness equal to them. I think that's fine. Green Belt Radical, a 4 mana for a 4/4. Okay. When Greenbelt Radical is turned face up, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. But the disguise is 7. I play 5 for this. This is Overrun. I think Overrun was better than this, actually. I suppose the counters stay on this one, so it's actually probably better than Overrun. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah. Overrun is, what was it? +2/+2 and trample to all creatures, or +3/+3 and trample? I don't remember. I haven't seen it in years. This is 7 mana, so 2 more, for a 1 +1/+1 counter and trample until end of turn. I mean, I'm still taking this as a 4 mana 4/4. I just don't think I ever want to. I'm ever playing it face down in. Well, I mean, I won't say never. To get to the point where you're playing this face down for 3, then waiting to next turn to turn it face up, to give everything a +1/+1 counter and gain trample. I mean, it's just too expensive. It's gotta be. I mean, I'd still pick it as a 4/4 for 4, but. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think if you've had this face down for a number of turns to the point where you've got to 7 mana and flip this face up, you should have already won that, really. Hard-hitting question. 1 mana, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. Fan-fucking-tastic. 1 mana green removal? Yes, please. I fucking have that shit all day. And it's not even fight. It just deals damage. I'm fucking all about this. Let's go. This is a great little card. Sorcery speed, which is a bit naff, but I mean, this is like, I remember when Prey Upon first came out, and it was 1 mana to make your creatures fight, and it was really good. And this is better than Prey Upon. So, because green just doesn't have ways to kill things. So now green has ways to kill things, which I'm a big fan of, and this is a good one. Hedge Whisperer. Sure. 1 mana for a 0/3. You may choose not to untap Hedge Whisperer during your untap step. Right? For 4 mana and tap, collect evidence 4. Target land you control becomes a 5/5 green plant boar creature with haste for as long as Hedge Whisperer remains tapped. Yeah, this is probably good. I mean, it's a 4 mana 5/5. Yeah. No, I think this is good. And like, if they destroy the creature, you can just untap this guy and then tap him again and make another one. Yeah. No, this guy's good. I like this guy. Nice little 1 mana card. I'd pick him up if I saw him. I think this is a good card. Hide in Plain Sight. Okay. 4 mana. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Cloak 2 of them. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Right. And the cloak mechanic is you put whatever it is face down, and if it's a creature card, you can turn it face up at any time for its mana cost. So this is, look at the top 5 cards of your library, put 2 creature cards, as long as you've got 2 creature cards, face down, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. It doesn't necessarily have to be a creature card either. You could look at the top 5, see 5 lands, and just put 2 lands face down as 2/2s. Because it says turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. So this is at worst 4 mana for 4/4 in stats across 2 bodies with ward 2 on each. I think this is okay, actually. I think there are some cards where if you can flip them up for their mana cost rather than for their disguise cost, like, again, so we didn't like this because the disguise cost. Yeah, exactly. So this has a 7 mana disguise cost to flip it up and give trample, but if it's cloaked, you can turn it up for 4 and give everything +1/+1 and trample until end of turn. Now that, I'm very happy to pay. So I think this card is actually a lot better than I was about to give it a bad rating. I think this card is actually pretty good. Because even if you hit nothing, even if you hit 5 lands, it still pays for itself in power and toughness on your board, essentially. It's 4 mana for a 4/4 in stats across 2 bodies. Even if you just hit lands. And if you hit creatures that actually, like, even if you hit crappy creatures, you can still have them and turn them up in whatever. If you hit a good creature with it, like the centaur back here, it's incredible. 2 bodies for 4 mana is great. So I think this card is actually very... I was going to give it a bad rating, but rereading it and rethinking it, I think this card is actually good. A Killer Among Us. Okay. 5 mana for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human creature token, a 1/1 blue merfolk creature token, and a 1/1 red goblin creature token. Then secretly choose human, merfolk, or goblin. Sacrifice this. Reveal the chosen creature type. If target attacking creature token is the chosen type. Yeah. So this, for 5 mana, this makes 3 different tokens. And then for 3 more mana, the Trostani thing makes a 4th token, which is the plant. And then you draw 4 cards. Is that good? It's 8 mana. Is Killer Among Us good by itself? It creates 3 power and toughness across 3 bodies, and you get to pick one of them, and if you attack with it, you can make it into a 4/4. I think if it was between a Killer Among Us and the Trostani effect, I think I'm more likely to pick a Killer Among Us. I think this card's better than the Trostani draw card. I think together they can be a good little combo, but it's probably taking 2 turns. And I don't know. This is a weird one, because after you get the 1/1s, do you attack with all 3? It does. But I don't know if you do. Do you attack with all 3 and then your opponent has to guess which one's going to get Death Touch? Or do you just attack with the one that you know is going to get Death Touch and get 3+1/+1 counters on it? And your opponent knows that it's the one. I don't know. If I see this card, I'd probably take it. Just because it's, 3 dudes for 1 spell. But this is a weird one. This is like blue trickery in a green card, and I'm not a big fan. I want my green cards to be simple. I want the 4/4 haste Death Toucher for 4 mana. Yeah. It's good to have the options, but I like my green cards to be simple. I like my 4/4 haste Death Toucher for 4. This is like possibly 7... What is it? 4, 5... This is possibly 6 power worth of stats and a Death Touch creature, and you can use the Trostani thing to draw and a whole bunch of other stuff. But it's very, like, tricky. I'm not really sure I like that. But, I mean, it's good. I think it's a fine card because it makes a bunch of dudes. Loxodon Eavesdropper. Okay. 4 mana for a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, investigate. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, Loxodon Eavesdropper gets +1/+1 and gains vigilance. You're saying you'd grab Trostani for the express person and picking one. Well, remember, this is uncommon, so you can't guarantee this one. Now, Trostani is rare, so you're less likely to get the Trostani one than you are to get this, but you can't technically guarantee it. But I think if you play this and get the effect, so if you play this and then also play the Trostani card, draw 4 cards and get 3 creatures, and one of them is a 4/4 with Death Touch, I think you're probably just winning the game off that. But it feels like a lot of setup and a lot of mana, so I'm not sure. But I do think it's cool. Right, Loxodon Eavesdropper. So it's a 3/3 for 4 mana. Makes a clue token, sure. And whenever you draw your second card, it's a 4/4 with vigilance until end of turn. I mean, if you're making a bunch of clue tokens, you can guaranteed trigger this pretty much every turn. It's probably good. I mean, it's not great, but I'd run at least one, probably. Nervous Gardener. 2 mana for a 2/2. And when it's turned face up, search your library for a land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. But you have to play it for 3 and then turn it up for 1. So you can't actually flip it for that effect until turn 4. I mean, it's a 2 mana 2/2, so it's probably not terrible. But I don't know how much I care about the disguise slot. The disguise ability. Like, it seems very mediocre. Pick your poison for 1 mana. Choose one. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact. Each opponent sacrifices an enchantment. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. This is okay. There's been a bunch of, like... Green always has ways to deal with artifacts, enchantments, and creatures with flying. This is just all of it rolled into a 1 mana sorcery, but your opponent gets to pick, so... I mean, if they've only got one big flyer, this is great. 1 mana, destroy your great big flyer, but they probably have a couple, and with clue tokens, you're never going to be able to hit the artifact you want. Maybe you hit the enchantment you want, because I haven't seen a massive amount of enchantments, but yeah, this is, maybe you run one of these, if you have to. You probably don't. Pompous Gadabout, sure. 3 mana for a 4/2 that has hexproof as long as it's your turn, and can't be blocked by creatures that don't have a name? What? Yeah, it is much cheaper than other green removal. Usually it's 3 for removing a flying creature, and that's 1. But it is sorcery speed, and your opponent gets to pick, so... He's disguised. Oh! Okay, so he gets around the face down 2/2s. Okay. I was going to say, what does it mean by creatures that don't have a name? But I guess, yeah, it's the face down creatures. The disguised things. And he has hexproof as long as it's your turn. And he's a good beater because he's 4/2. I think this is... I like this card. I picked this card up. Yeah, I think this is alright. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of stuff that can just block him, but, I mean, he's probably trading with anything that does block him. And if your opponent's trying to do, you know, funny stuff with disguise things, he's just going to walk straight over and punch him in the mouth. I like this card. I like this card too. I think he's good. What is this? It costs 11! The Pride of Hull Clade. It costs 10 and 1 green. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total toughness of creatures you control. Right. Defender. Okay. For 2 blue and 2, until end of turn, target creature you control gains +1/+0. Gets +1/+0. Gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to its toughness, and can attack as though it didn't have Defender. Oh god, this card's stupid. So this is... yeah, but also this... you legitimately can't play this card in Limited. You can't. Think about it. Like, well, you can if you're just going to use it on the defense, but if you're going to use it on the attack, if I swing this at my opponent with it getting the plus the 4 mana, my opponent's just going to go, yeah, I'll take 3. You draw your entire deck and have to play them this turn, or you discard half of them, and then next turn you can't swing with that, or else you mill yourself out and lose. Like, I have to admit, if you've got 15 cards in hand, you'd like to hope there's a way you win the game off of that. But this costs 4. So you have to pay 4 to draw 15 cards with this, and then you only have the remaining mana you had in that turn after paying 4 to use the 15 cards you've drawn. This is such a meme. This is not a good card. This is not a good card if you're planning on attacking with it. But this is the... So, we saw the 1/10 white creature, and I said that had a fat ass. This is fucking thick with 15 Cs. Look at this thing. Yeah, I think if I see this, I have to pick it. But I don't think you can ever swing with it in a limited game. I think by the time you're playing this in a limited game, you probably have like 20, 23 cards left. And if you swing with this, your opponent just goes, yeah, okay. And then you just have 7 cards left in your library, and you're like, oh, shit, I need to win in 7 turns. This is so fucking hilarious. This is fantastic, but this is just a meme. This is such a meme. Okay, you're my favorite card in the whole set, but no. Rope. Okay, 1 mana, equipped creature has +1/+2, has reach and can't be blocked by more than one creature. Okay, this is also really good. So, I didn't like the pipe. I don't think I liked the black one. I don't think I liked the white one. The red clue artifact gave first strike, so I said that one was good. And this one gives reach and can't be blocked by more than one creature. So this is also a good one, I think. And obviously all of them are fine because you can just, like, of all the artifacts, I'd probably pick these because you can just sacrifice them to draw a card later if you don't want. So yeah, we've already talked about those. That one's probably one of the better ones. Oh my god. Do you just want to give this guy, like, you're with the spider and with the rope, you're looking at drawing 20 cards on the attack. You're just going to mill yourself out immediately. Oh, that's... Oh, no. Right. Rubble Belt Maverick. 1 mana for a 1/1 when it enters the battlefield spell 2. Sure. And for 1 mana, you can exile it from your graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. There's a good card. I'd have this at 1. When it comes in...
Spartan!
Oh, thank you for the follow.
What is your profession?
That was good to use Zatachi. Thank you. But yeah, this is a good little 1 mana card. I think this is fine. When you play it, it does surveil. It's good. And when it dies, or you sacrifice it, or you block with it, or something, when it's in the graveyard, you can just make a creature bigger. This is a good card. I like this card. Sample Collector. 3 mana for a 2/3. When it attacks, you may collect evidence 3. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. This is another good card. 2/3 for 3 is a smidge understated, but it's going to grow any creature you want whenever it attacks, as long as you can keep collecting the evidence, which you probably can. So yeah, I like this card. I would pick this card. I think it's fantastic in your 3 slot. Good little green card. Sharp-Eyed Rookie. Okay, 2 mana for a 2/2 with Vigilance. Like it. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if its power is greater than Sharp-Eyed Rookie's power, or its toughness is greater than Sharp-Eyed Rookie's toughness, put a +1/+1 counter on Sharp-Eyed Rookie and investigate. Ah, we've had a number of these cards previously in different sets. There was Pelt Taker or something, a 1 mana 1/1 that whenever you played a creature that had a higher... Yeah, this card's good. There was a 1 mana 1/1 that whenever you played a creature with higher power or toughness, it got a +1/+1 counter, and it was incredible. This is just a slightly more expensive, slightly better version. 2/2 with Vigilance. Next turn you play a 3/3. This gets bigger, or a 2/3. This gets bigger. Next turn you play, like, as long as you're playing on curve, this is getting better and better and investigating every turn. This is a good card. I like this card. You pick this up if you see this in green. This isn't beast of a card. Slime Against Humanity. Right? 3 mana for create a 0/0 green. Yeah, the Vigilance is really good. Like, and with the investigate, so you're drawing extra cards, and this is getting bigger, and it's got Vigilance, so it can defend and attack. This card is really good. Right. So, for 3 mana, you create a 0/0 green ooze creature token with trample. Ooh. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is 2, plus the total number of cards you own in exile and in your graveyard that are oozes or are named Slime Against Humanity. A deck can have any number of cards named Slime Against Humanity. Okay. I'm going to say this now. This is not a good limited card. But we are going to draft a deck that is just 12 copies of this card. And we're just going to make oozes at people. Okay? That's just what's happening. Okay? I don't... Possibly. Yeah. If you don't have a way to put another card into your graveyard, I think this does fizzle on first cast. Because I think it... Does... Depends. Does the card go to the... Does the sorcery go to the graveyard before the ooze token is created? I think it does. So I think it would count the first cast itself, right? Or does it create... No, it creates the first slime token when it's on the stack, right? Oh, I always get confused with these things. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask a judge. So either it'll either see itself in the graveyard, or it'll fizzle and you'll have to play a second one. Like I said, either way, I don't think this is a good card, but I think I am going to, at some point, draft a deck on MTG that's just 12 copies of this card. We're going to take every copy of this card we see, and we're going to hope that we can win on the back of it. That's going to be it. It's going to be stupid. But I don't think this is a good card. Yeah, that's true. There are oozes already in. Maybe I should try making an ooze standard deck. That would be stupid. That's very tempting, actually. Anyway, yeah, I don't think this card is good, but I think we will probably try drafting a deck around it just for the meme at some point. They went this way. 3 mana, search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffles, investigate. Sure. I mean, what is it? Ramp isn't good in limited, and in standard there's currently a 2 mana card, the Glimpse the Core or whatever, that lets you ramp on 2, so I don't think this is very good. But sure, it's just ramp. Topiary Panther, a 6 mana, 6/5 with trample that can be land cycled. Great. Yeah. You probably take at least a copy of this card in green, maybe 2. It's got land cycling. At worst, you discard it and search your library for a basic land. Whenever you need it. At best, it's a 6/5 with trample. Yep, love it. Good card. Tunnel Tipster. Okay. 2 mana for a 1/1. At the beginning of your end step, if a face-down creature enters the battlefield under your turn, this control... Fuels evidence 6 for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Put a +1/+1. Okay. So this guy is a 2 mana ramp, like, what's it? Mana Dork, that grows. Don't hate it. I think I take this in my 2 slot. Just for the tap to generate green. I think I'm fine with him. I think your opponent feels obligated. I think if you play this card, your opponent feels like they have to remove it just because you can ramp with it. And the fact that if you just start playing face-down creatures that can flip, this gets bigger and bigger. I think this is actually a really good little card. Undergrowth Recon. Mythic, okay. 3 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep... It's cute art. I'd play. He is just a tiny little man. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target land from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Sure. It's not good in limited, I'll give you that. But it's... I mean, yeah. It's not good in limited. Maybe it's good in standard somewhere. I don't know. Maybe because you're going to be milling so many cards. Maybe they think if you're milling up a whole bunch of cards, you're going to need ways to get your lands back, I guess. But your deck's probably mostly or got enough lands. Like, I don't think this is that good. Also, what is with these mythic rare cards in green just being all about graveyards and lands and stuff? It's just... I suppose we did have the big 2/15, I guess, so I can't complain. Vengeful Creeper. Okay. 5 mana for a 5/5. I'm fine with it. When it's turned face up, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls, and you can flip it face up for 6. So it's slightly more expensive to destroy an artifact or enchantment. I mean, this is probably just a 5 mana 5/5. And you're probably fine with that, because that's, I think, one of the biggest things we've seen. in other cards. Like, I don't think white has got anywhere near anything big enough for this, and blue only has one mythic rare 6/6 flyer, and red only has one mythic rare 6/6 flyer. Like, I reckon 5 is probably one of the biggest things they're going to have. We haven't seen anything much bigger than that, at least. Vitu Ghazi Inspector. 2 mana as an additional... For a 2 mana for a 1/3, and you can collect evidence 6. So it has reach. I'm already liking this card. 2 mana 1/3 with reach is fine. And if the evidence was collected, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and gain 2 life. Okay. Yeah, this is a nice little card. In the early game, it's just what, a 2 mana 1/3 with reach that just blocks. And in the late game, or if you have evidence 6, you can just pump something up and gain some life if you've lost. So this is like fine. It's not exciting, but it's common, so it's just a fine card.